All right, folks, welcome to the Convict Podcast. I'm your host, Moliere Dimash, and I told you guys the other day that we were bringing a guest on that you guys would be very pleased to see. He is the author of Pursuit 45 Poems of Inspiration to Help You Reach Your Purpose. He is the host of the Culture Podcast that is available on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. He is a member of the Florida Senate. He is a member of the Senate Criminal Justice Committee. And I am now introducing to you Senator Randolph Bracy.
Hello, Moliere. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, glad to have you, man. I can't explain enough how you taking the time to speak to the relatives of people who have loved ones incarcerated, how much just even having the conversation itself, how much hope that gives to people who felt like for so long nobody has been listening to them.
Right. Yeah, I'm happy to do it, and I understand that, and hopefully this can provide some hope. I do all I can to try to alleviate people's concerns, just talk to them when they call or email. So I'm happy to do this, and thanks for putting this on.
Yes, awesome. All right. So folks, this is not going to be a discussion about my concerns. As much as I know you guys were looking forward to that. The concerns that I would like to address, they'll have to be saved for a later date. I'm using this opportunity to allow the people to speak to one of our elected officials. So I'm going to bring on a panel of prison mothers to speak directly to the senator about what they have in mind, and I'm going to remove myself from the stream. If you have any questions, post them in the comment section, and they will appear on the screen. Here's Wendy, Tracy, and Nancy.
All right, Senator Bracy, thank you so much for joining our panel tonight. Of course, our topic is criminal justice reform. So we all have some questions and want to touch base and kind of see where things are headed, what direction we're going in as far as criminal justice reform goes. Wendy, did you want to start?
Sure, I would love to start. Hi, Senator Bracy. It's really nice to see you, and thank you so much for being interested in this. My question concerns the things that happen before people actually get into the prison system, into the justice system. I'm interested in diversionary programs that keep them totally out of the courts by either a drug court, like instead of the police arresting someone, taking them to be booked immediately, diverting them to a drug counseling or alcoholism or mental health, or like looking at the situation and judging it to maybe be a community service thing where you have to go and do something for people instead of throwing people into jail directly when they're trapped in the system and there's no way out. So I know there's a fairly good many counties in Florida that are starting these diversionary programs, but we want to get them involved in more and train the police to be able to use these tactics instead of just going in and arresting. What do you think of that? I threw a lot at you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think each county has the ability to do that. That's something that I support. Through the years of being in the criminal justice committees, we've always tried to make it easier for people to enter these diversionary programs. But I believe that these individual counties have discretion in how they go about it. So it's something that I support. I believe if we can avoid people going into the criminal justice system, then I think we need to do that. So it's something that I support, and I've supported for the entirety of my career in the Senate.
Do you feel as though maybe the court system getting so much money out of having people go through the court system is a detriment to these programs getting put through? Because as soon as someone gets into the court system, money starts rolling into whatever county it is that is happening. So how do you get people to really get behind these programs?
I don't know if money in the court system is the problem. I think that we need to continually educate our different court systems, and I think that's really the key. I mean, I think you're starting to see more of these diversionary programs, but I just think it will continue to happen. Momentum will continue to build for them. So I don't think that there's any detriment in how the system is being operated currently. I just think that it just takes some time. People have to.
Excuse me, in Maryland, there's a program where when someone's arrested and they're waiting to go to trial, they're given a chance to not ever go to trial by keeping their job that they had on the outside. They get to keep their job. They get to leave the detention center, go work, and as long as they return that day, it's a day taken off of the time that they are going to serve before their trial even comes up. So by the time they go to work, come back, go to work, come back, their preliminary detention goes away and they're released because they've stuck to the program of going to work, coming back. That way their people keep money coming in and all that, and they don't lose their job, they don't lose their family's income. It's kind of cool. So that's one thing I really love if the state of Florida could look into and put that into effect.
So what they do is they're able to work while they're awaiting trial.
Exactly. Exactly. They're allowed out for each day, and each day that they come back at the right time, that's a day taken off. And if they do the whole thing right up to when the trial comes, the trial is gone. If it's of course not for a serious felony, but
non-violent.
Non-violent felonies. It's a very program. I have a friend who's a judge in Annapolis, and she's told me all about that program, and they have a 97% rate of perfection.
Yeah.
So that's
a great idea.
It keeps people from losing their job, and their families keep together. So
right.
you think about it. I'm done.
I'll definitely I'll definitely look into that. I think that's an excellent idea for nonviolent offenses. I would definitely support that. I mean, I've supported the idea of getting rid of our cash bail system because of the reason you just outlined. People can lose their job and their lives start to spiral.
I will forward all the information about that program to you. Okay?
Please do. Please do. Bracy.randolph@flsenate.gov.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, Tracy, I believe that you had some information and questions as far as sentencing guidelines and so forth, correct?
I did. I guess before we get to the sentencing guidelines, though, so our understanding is that the House Speaker is the one that determines what bills are listened to and which ones are not every session. With that being said, we know that there's going to be a new House Speaker this upcoming session. And we would like to know how we can effectively promote criminal justice to the speaker to be willing to listen to these bills, because they're not being listened to. Some of them are great bills. Like you said in the beginning, education is the key. When we talk about criminal justice reform, people automatically assume we're going to let people that deserve, or that not deserve, that have lengthy criminal histories, out of prison, violent offenders out of prison, and that's not the case. What we're trying to do is change outdated sentencing guidelines, such as, and this goes into, my next question is the score sheets. The score sheets aren't being effectively used in the system. You have people that score under 45 that aren't that don't need to go to prison but are sent to prison anyway. You have the prosecution that's ultimately setting sentencing guidelines and not a judge. So again, why do we have judges if the judges don't have any, opinions or, are able to set those sentencing guidelines or sentence someone to a fair sentence, and the prosecution's just looking for a sentence, a win, so to speak. So I guess there's a little two
Hey,
questions for one, and I'm sorry, but
I don't know if you all are having trouble hearing her. I am,
Yeah, it sounds like it's breaking up a little bit.
but can you all hear?
you're breaking up.
Can you all hear me?
I can hear you, but it's a little sketchy and you're not moving well.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can hear you, but it's crunchy something. Crunchy.
Okay. Well, I'll just talking.
There, that's better.
Tracy, you mentioned a lot of different things, and I support the many reforms that you spoke of, giving judges discretion, changing 5% mandatory rule to 65%. I mean, the list goes on and on. You mentioned that if I knew how to convince the House on board, that would answer a lot of people's questions. And so, especially the House Speaker that is coming on board now, he's a career prosecutor, and he just has not been open to a lot of these.
Something's going on there.
I think he just dropped it. He'll be back.
Technical difficulties.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Senator Bracy's stream dropped out. I'm not sure if it was a bad connection or if it's he was charging his phone at the same time. I'm not sure. If you guys want to give the audience a recap of what he was trying to get at until he rejoins, feel free to do so.
Well, it's kind of hard to hear him because it was very jumpy. But somebody had a question that was up there that you can answer.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. I want to get to them all, but I at least wanted you guys to get your questions out to the senator first, and then I would start posting all of the questions that were being presented. But I'm not sure what happened with his stream or if he's trying to now. Let me see if he's messaging me right now. But if you guys want to elaborate on where you're going with this, feel free to talk to the people in the meantime.
Tracy's question is a really good one because it's about the judges being able to have some kind of discretion over what happens in a case where the score sheet and the mandatory minimums tie the judge's hands, so they cannot make a decision based on the facts of the case. They have to go by the mandates of what the justice system has decided. And she's saying that it's very wrong, and it is. Judges don't like it, and neither do we, the parents and family members of the people who are being incarcerated. Right? Did I get that right?
That's pretty much it. Yes.
Yeah, Angie, you said I know your comment said vote and vote vote. Where I forgot. Let me see where comment went. It just went away. Anyway, Angie, you said vote and vote them out. Well, yes, we do need to vote. And yes, we need to get the right people in there to vote. The problem is that the House Speaker's not a voted position. So the new person coming in, which is Chris Rawls, he has to be on board. I mean, he has to be willing to listen. He has to be willing to want to hear what we have to say. And, we need to find ways that not only, are we going to, we have lobby day, yes, but we have to find other
I
avenues.
think his phone may have died because I just sent him another message and it hasn't gone through. So maybe we will have to give him time to get his phone back on the charger. But yeah, folks, I appreciate this. Oh, he's back. Folks, I appreciate the super chats. I will read them all at the end of the stream. I'm bringing the senator back now. And hopefully my presence isn't taking up too much of the bandwidth. Give me one.
There you are.
Can you hear me? My apologies.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yes, we can hear you.
So I didn't know if you could hear what I was saying, but when I was saying that the speaker, if we could figure out how to convince him to get on board with these reforms, that would make a lot of people happy. So I'm trying to figure that out as you're asking about it. And the reforms you mentioned, judicial discretion. I've been talking about the felony murder rule. Changing the 85% mandatory time served to 65%. I mean, there's so many reforms that I think would do a whole lot of good that we've been trying to work on, that we've been able to pass in the Senate. It's the House, and so how could you help? I think it really focuses on one person, and that's Representative or Speaker Chris Sprouse. And so I think putting pressure on him in his district, reaching out to him. I think he's in Pinellas. I mean, he's the one person that has the control over these reforms in the House, and that's kind of where the holdup has been. So
Now,
I would go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is it true to say that this upcoming session there'll be new people over the
Yeah.
criminal justice reform? So Jamie Grant won't be there, and a few others are not going to be.
Well, no, Jamie Grant will still be in the House. I don't know what committee he will.
The subcommittee, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Sprouse is the one that runs the whole criminal justice.
Right.
So he's the speaker, and whoever he puts in place, Sprouse is the one pulling the strings. So yeah.
So we should try to get a meeting with him and the three of us go talk to him.
There you go. Absolutely. I go meet him in his district if you can.
How about it, girls? I'll go.
Yeah. But he is the one that's been pulling the strings on all the criminal justice bills in the House. He's a career prosecutor. I've had many conversations with him, and we just have a difference of opinion. And so he's open to listen, but I haven't been able to get much traction with him. But to be honest, he's the one person that's holding up reforms that you've been talking about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You have to convince.
Okay. I'm not sure if you guys were done with your questions. Do you want to get to some of the questions that are in the comment section?
You can ask. You can do some, and then we'll move forward.
Okay. Well, if you're not done, then you can go ahead. I'll just do them at the end. I just didn't know if you guys were done.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Senator, do you support bringing parole back to the state of Florida?
That's interesting. Parole. Enlighten me. What's your thought on that? I haven't given it much thought.
Well, they sentence to life now, and there's no opportunity for parole. Life is life, and it's basically a death sentence. You will die there. So there's a huge portion of the population that's involved with criminal justice that is definitely for bringing parole back, possibly, starting where you're eligible after 20 years on your sentence.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would be supportive of?
Absolutely.
Most states, I'm from Maryland as well, and some states have life. You get life is a life sentence, but it's like 25 years.
Right.
So once you've done 25 years, you've done your life sentence, you go home. Here in Florida, it's life without parole, natural life. You die. Basically, you like you said, you're given the death sentence with life without parole.
Yeah. No, I would definitely support parole. I believe in redemption. I believe that people turn their life around and they deserve a second chance. And so I absolutely support that. If you have any legislation that has passed in a different state that you want me maybe to offer, I heard Maryland mention, feel free to email it to me. I don't mind proposing that as a bill.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I support the idea.
And then another thing with life, and I know because a lot of people have issues with life without parole. The other thing with the life sentences is you have a lot of inmates, a lot of people that are sentenced to life because of mandatory minimums in PRR. Their crime didn't warrant a life sentence, but yet they're still serving life because of these other enhancements that are added on to sentencing, and the judge not having discretionary to say, I'm not going to sentence you to life because your crime didn't warrant a life sentence.
So give me an example. When you say like a mandatory minimum, you mean like a mandatory minimum of like 25 years, and I mean that's basically their entire life because of their age. Give me an example.
Well, yeah, you get life, so you get a life sentence. You have a manslaughter charge, you get a life sentence. You got enhancements, which enhanced your 15-year minimum max sentence on a manslaughter to life because now you've got enhancements. You the PRR.
I got it.
And that is one of the biggest issues that we see with sentencing guidelines in the state of Florida is the PRR. A lot of people would have lesser sentences, and would be released under a life sentence if the PRR was wiped away.
And I think too that it's the prosecutor that files the PRR, and once it's filed, the judge has no discretion on sentencing whatsoever.
Can I say one more thing on that? There's been talk about reducing mandatory minimums for nonviolent offenders, and I'm totally against not reducing them for violent offenders as well, because there are always circumstances in every single case that requires a judge's discretion to see what really happened and why it happened. And to solely say that only nonviolent offenders are eligible for that discretion from a judge is wrong, I think.
Well, no, and that's a great point. I agree with that. I actually agree with that. I think a judge should be able to decide in any case. There's special circumstances in each case. What was offered in the last session was just for nonviolent offenses.
Exactly. It's just made me mad.
But that was only because I believe trying to negotiate with the House, because the House has not been able to. We haven't been able to see eye to eye on these reforms. I think we took the.
So they're doing baby steps.
Basically.
I get that, but it's so wrong. It's prejudicial and it is wrong. I mean, if they're saying people deserve the judge's discretion in those cases, they obviously deserve it in every case. So
agreed.
It's one of my peeves about the justice system. Anyway, onward.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah, I mean, I've been fighting to get rid of mandatory minimums my entire career in the legislature. And until we change the makeup of the legislature, especially in the House, it's going to be difficult. I believe the Senate is ready to do it.
I hope so.
But yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to follow up because we were talking about, you know, sentencing and reform bills and things like that. But I'm trying to focus right now for people who are already in the system and are there. So it's like, what can we do to make this better for them as far as like programming and betterment courses, things like that? Because even if you have a life sentence in the state of Florida, you don't qualify to take any classes whatsoever. It is just dead time unless you're working at the facility, you know, in the kitchen or whatever. So it's dead time. So that really does not give people the opportunity to better themselves or to be purposeful or to bring about this change that the Department of Corrections is supposed to be bringing about. And then Tracy pointed out too, you know, if you have a life sentence and let's say you're going up for review or you're getting back into court, they want to look at what you've done since you've been there. Well, there's nothing much that they can do that's going to be on paper to say, hey, this is what I've accomplished. Here's what I've done. You know, I deserve a second chance. They're not given the opportunity to do these things. And the classes, for the most part, you have to be at 3 years or less on your sentence to qualify to do a class. And then sometimes the wait is so long that you don't get in, you EOS before you got a program, or you know there's not a teacher available because it's hard to keep teachers because the pay rate is very low, and so they're running into a lot of problems with that. So I guess, is there any plans for like the Pell Grants, bringing Pell Grants back, and programming plans for inside of the prison to really start working on rehabilitation?
You know, that's a great question. And every time the secretary comes before the Criminal Justice Committee, I grill him on programming. And I would just say that what I hear over and over again, I mean, they're just different priorities. They don't put nearly enough money into programming. And so whenever the secretary comes, he comes asking for more money, but not for programming, but for more officers. And I think that the programming point gets lost in the discussion. I continue to bring it up, but I would just say that I don't think it's a priority also of some of my colleagues. I mean, you know, I feel like I'm a voice in the wilderness sometimes, saying like, you know, if people are going to be in prison, why are we not preparing them for when they come out? And you know, it's difficult to get my colleagues to move on. And so I am the vice chair on the Criminal Justice Appropriations Committee, but I ultimately don't make that decision. And so I think you bring up a valid point, and we need to do better about that.
Well, I've heard there's a lot of people who want to shut down the private prison industry. And I personally want to show where the private prisons actually do the programming, and it doesn't matter what your charges are, everybody qualifies, and they have programs set up that actually can work with you to help you better yourself as far as you're willing to go. So I, you know, don't want to hide where I've been, but I recently got out of prison and I was at Gadsden Correctional. And I just want to show you the amount of certificates that I got while I was there versus nothing had I been at DOC. So wow. I was able to use that time very well, very efficiently, and I was busy, I was purposeful, and I actually had time to heal some things that had been going wrong in my life that changed my life. So although there are many, many things wrong with the prison system itself and the amount of time that's being given out and the idleness and the despair that goes on in there, there are some programs that are really designed to help people, but they're limited normally to the private sector. So that is something that I'd like to address, because they actually bid contracts that they can do a better job for less money, and they get the contract and they're actually able to accomplish this. But DOC gets more money to house people, but they can't accomplish it. I'm a little confused by that.
Well, the state does support these private prisons, but I will say that, my visit to a private prison was similar. I mean, I was impressed. I think they get such a bad rap, but they, from all indications, I mean, and that's one visit, and obviously they put their best foot forward when I came, but it seemed that they had more programming. And so I will say that the leadership in the state wants to see a transition to private prisons, and so they've done everything that they can to make sure that they're succeeding. So they do get some supplemental money from the state that puts them in a better position than DOC. But I will say that DOC's priorities aren't what they should be. And so you make a valid point, and I will take note of it.
Don't you think that if we?
it's
Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you
My
think,
audio has messed up, if you're wondering why I'm putting my ear to
do you
the
think
sound. So I don't know how to fix
You're
it.
fine.
that removing the state of Florida from the prison system and making it privatized would eliminate a lot of issues, like one, programming, two, the abuse that we know is going on, the cover-ups, the I just lost my train of thought, but
Yeah, inmate abuse. I hear what you're saying.
you have Maryland again has is not privatized, but they don't have correctional officers. They have a company that comes in, is the correctional officers. It's not somebody ran by the state of Maryland. It's not they're not state or government employees. They're a security company that trains these people to come in and do the guard. And you don't have what you have here in Florida of the misuse, the mistreatment that these guys endure by,
Right.
these inmates, that is an everyday thing. That's just, it's covered up every day. And I don't want to go on, I don't want to get into the abuse part of it so much, because it wasn't just, but I think the privatized prison system would work better. And then you can't say, oh, I think there's a lot of things that would change at that point, because now we're not using people as warehousing. We're not using them as making money for the state.
Right. I didn't want to interrupt, but we've gone few minutes over. I didn't want to take up too much of the senator's time. I wanted to keep this like 30 minutes or less, because I didn't even ask him what he had planned. If you want to briefly address that, I saw that a lot of people were commenting in the comment section about what's going on with PRRs that are going to be repealed. If you wanted to touch on that, that was like the most repetitive question that I saw being asked in there. A lot of people want to know what's going on with PRR, and if it's not too much, Senator, if you could address that, the PRR issue.
The PRR. So that's the sentence enhancements.
Yes.
At this point, there's not a whole lot going on. I mean, there's something that we are looking to address in the next legislative session. But at this point, like I said, it's been difficult working with the House on these issues, and so it's an ongoing conversation. But just to touch on what she was talking about the private prison industry, you know, it's been there's been support to keep from this state from privatizing, and so to hear the support for privatization, or at least to say that, you know, that you feel that things would be better, that's an interesting conversation. So that's what I've seen, but I think the private prison industry for a long time has gotten a bad rap. So that's a conversation that we may need to explore, because people have just kind of set in stone their position on private prisons, but if they are doing a better job, then it's something that we should look at. But
okay, so Senator, can they keep up with any of the efforts that you have going on your podcast?
yeah, my podcast is called The Culture. We talk a lot about we just talk about race, and so we delve into the criminal justice system. I had a recent podcast about the felony murder rule, and I'm not sure who's familiar with that, but basically, an accomplice could be charged with life, and they could not even be privy to what happened. It just depends on the prosecutor deciding to invoke the felony murder rule, and so you have situations where people had no knowledge of a murder being committed, but the prosecutor decided to link the murderer with another person, and so they can be charged with felony murder rule and get life. And so it's
that
affected a lot of
definitely
people.
needs to. I have a friend who went and did a crime, and his co-defendant was killed. They were part of a robbery, and his co-defendant was killed by the person that they were trying to rob, and they charged him with the murder, and he's in prison right now for it. So it's very unreasonable, and it's inconsistent. You are the author of Pursuit: 45 Poems of Inspiration to Help Reach Your Purpose. Folks, the link is in the description if you want to get a copy of his book. There are links to his podcast, and I found out you can get a recap of his podcast here on YouTube. The link to everything is in the description, folks. Go get the book. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Hopefully we can have Senator Bracy on. He can make more time in his extremely busy schedule to address our concerns again. This was amazing, Senator Bracy. This is a true example of democracy at work. And like I told you in the beginning, this gives people hope to know that our elected officials will listen to us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really
And let me
Thank you so much, Senator.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And I would just encourage anyone to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but also just to keep up with any updates. But also feel free to reach out to me. I'm very responsive. Bracy.Randolph@flsenate.gov. If you have any more questions, you want to send to me directly, and we can talk offline. So I'm here to help. I'm here to serve.
Awesome. And there is a link to his Facebook page in the description, folks. If you're watching on YouTube, when I do multiple streams, YouTube takes about 10 hours to upload, but the replay will be available on Facebook right now. Share, folks. Thank you for tuning in. This is the highest live that I've had. So Senator Bracy, thanks for the numbers, man.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Remember, folks, wash your hands and keep your mask on in public. I love you all, and good night.